All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. You just saw a quick little slideshow of some photos that I took up while I was in or up at Lost Lake, which is the cottage, my parents' cottage. We spend some time there, 4th of July, that kind of stuff. And every year I go and I take pictures. And over the course of several years, since I've been a dad, my oldest daughter is turning 17 this month. So that's been around her. She's my stepdaughter. So probably been doing this with her for 13 years now. And then my son's 7, and my youngest daughter's just turned 5. So for probably better part of 13 years, I've been taking cameras up north and taking pictures. And within my hard drive, I have so many different cameras or types of photos, different cameras, everything from film cameras to point and shoots to Micro Four Thirds to Sony APS-C and Nikon and Ricoh, all over the place. I've had a ton of different types of cameras and pictures up there. And so this year is the second time I brought a Sony full frame camera with me up there. I think it was last year, 2 years ago. As I go through my gas cycles, I had a Sony a7 IV. I actually like that camera. I thought Sony has been getting a lot better. This year, it's the Sony a7 V. Now I have the cheap little 50mm 1.8 on there. But for the trip, I largely used the 24 to 50 f2.8G, a little bit of the 70 to 180 Tamron, and then this ZV-1 Mark II that's recording me right now. I used that a couple times, and throughout that slideshow, I haven't edited yet, but I should have marked what cameras those were. And I think it's really interesting, as I was going through the photos, what the real difference is for something like the Sony versus something else. And I'll give you guys probably a few positives and a few negatives, because as we obsess over gas, as we obsess over cameras we want to use, what's really important? What's the actual tangible difference? And so I'm going to talk to you guys about what I think mattered, and some of the positive things, and some of the things that I think mattered in a negative way. So first, let's talk about the good things about using this camera. We'll stay positive here. Number one, the autofocus makes it so easy. Now, obviously, this is an easy one to talk about. Similar, I've had the same experience with like Canon and other things like that. The autofocus was tremendous. Having a decent ergonomics. Sony ergonomics aren't the best, but I think they're decent, especially on this A7R5. Having a decent, a nice viewfinder, and just having all the controls at your fingertips. Just having a full, I guess, true camera was very much a positive. I would say having full frame was also a positive on this trip, because you just get images that have a little bit more clarity and tonality and a little bit better depth of field. And so that was great as well. In this instance, we had a 61 megapixel sensor. And so a lot of those pictures had to be cropped, because on the 24 to 50 lens I had on at the time, maybe I didn't get enough reach, whatever it might be. And so I did a lot of cropping. So having more megapixels, I don't know if it really mattered for printing, but I guess if you care enough, like that could be a good thing too, right? So that was a positive as well. What else? Switching to the ZV-1 Mark II, didn't use it a ton, but for the few times having it in my pocket was great. And so that was awesome as well. And I think from this camera's perspective, back to the A7R V, just being able to switch quickly from photo to video mode. I didn't take a ton of video, and I certainly didn't put any here in this video. You guys are going to see here, but I thought that was pretty good. So mostly positive. Now, from a negative perspective, having a big camera, I probably shot the least on this vacation than I've ever shot up there ever. And this isn't just specific to this A7R V. I had a similar experience when I bought like a Nikon DSLR up there and an A7 IV up there and some other larger cameras. Because I'm out running around, I'm on the golf course, I'm on the side-by-side, we're doing stuff with the kids, we're on a fishing boat. Lugging even a camera of this size around becomes a bit of a problem. Hence why the ZV-1, like at the beach, was used over something like the A7R V. Certainly could have brought this, could have put it in a sling, but chose not to. Threw this in my pocket, and I used that instead. So that was a bit of a negative. This camera is, the file sizes, being 61 megapixels, are bigger. And so that takes a little bit more hard drive space. Not a big deal. I think storage is relatively cheap, so I'd rather have the resolution. But, I guess it can be viewed as somewhat of a drawback. And then for me, like ergonomically, the button layout, still, I'm not super comfortable with it. I'm giving it a chance. I've owned this camera since April 30th. We're coming up on a record for me. Now I'm in 2.5 months of ownership on the A7R5, but still not super comfortable with the button layout and just being intuitive. I've very much got an Olympus Fuji type of brain, but I'm getting there. So, okay, I guess that can be kind of seen as a negative. But here was the biggest thing. Here is what was the biggest negative for me, what I'm really struggling with. And it's a positive, it's kind of a negative. You guys think this is kind of crazy. One, the Sony cameras, they're wildly uninspiring. I know people will comment and say, like, the camera shouldn't inspire you. And I would argue in defense of that, like, the camera gets out of your way so much so that you can just focus on the image. But it's not a very inspiring camera. I don't, like, yearn to pick it up all the time. The second thing is it's so good that it almost takes the fun out of it. I know, again, this is a negative, but it's a positive. It's like, when you're in a job interview and they're like, give me some negative qualities about you. And you're like, oh, I just try too hard. I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be so great. That's kind of this camera. You're like the job interview. It's so good at everything that it takes kind of the challenge out of it, which is kind of a cop-out, if I'm being honest with you, because, like, my compositions could be way better. That should be my challenge. Lighting should be my challenge. I could have brought flash and done some stuff with off-camera flashes and stuff, and there's definitely challenges, and this camera just gets out of your way. But there's some kind of, like, I don't know, connection or fun in using a camera that has manual focus, or a film camera, if you get it right, or even using Micro Four Thirds, where if you're not paying attention to some stuff and you screw up and the ISO is too bad or whatever, there's just some of that stuff, right? You got to be careful of. This camera makes it super, super, super easy. And so that was, I found myself like being like, I'll leave it behind. I don't know. Maybe I was in a mood, but I didn't bring this camera with me nearly as much as I've brought other cameras with me in years past. And here's the last one. The colors coming out of this camera, and I even felt like the A7 IV was better in the Sony family. In fact, I feel like they're better on the ZV-1 Mark II. The colors out of this camera are very, like, neutral and muted, and you can work it so that you get better camera out of camera images. But I almost feel like with this camera, you have to throw them into Lightroom. And, like, instantly I could tell you I have to bring the exposure up a little bit, maybe increase or decrease the contrast depending on the scene, bring the whites down, increase the shadows, increase the warmth a little bit. Like, those basic tweaks I did to almost every picture right off the rip. And I just felt like it took a little bit of work to get these pictures to be a lot better. You contrast that with something like my Fujis in the past or my Olympus cameras. I had those to a spot where I could just rip those right out of camera, and I was fairly happy with the JPEGs. And if any little tweaks need to be done, I just did it on my iPhone and I posted it. Those maybe lazier camera or lazier photographer, but certainly I take these pictures and now it's almost I have to, like, wait to get back to the computer and then throw them into Lightroom and edit them that way. And I'm not taking RAWs off of my camera and putting it on my phone and doing mobile Lightroom editing because it's 61 megapixel RAW photos. So I felt like that was kind of it. And so I came back and I was like, I didn't edit any photos while I was up there. I edited them when I came back. And I came back from this trip and I was like, I don't know if I loved that experience. And I've instantly, and have been for the last 3 or 4 days, have been searching for a more of a passion camera, whether that's getting back into an older Leica, maybe the Olympus OM3. I don't know. But I've been looking at it for sure because I felt like I just didn't love the experience. And I'm making this video because I'm pumping the brakes. I'm like, but don't jump back into that right away, Eric. Like, just chill for a second. Because when I put the photos into Lightroom and I did edit them, I felt like with a little massaging, they got to a pretty good spot and I was happy. Especially the black and white, I could make that work really, really well. And so I'm trying to walk myself off the ledge a little bit. And it does work so good that, like, you couldn't ask for anything better. And so I got to get over this, like, part of my learning curve, my hump, if you will, and just hang on for a second. The last thing I'll say to you is this. There's a couple of instances, user error for sure, where I accidentally, like, had an f8 at a higher shutter speed and the camera picked auto ISO at like 6,400 or even 12,800 once. And I'll tell you, like, with this higher megapixel sensor, it does not handle high ISO noise like lower megapixel full frame cameras. Like, maybe in the past I've had that experience with, like, the Lumix S5, S5 II, maybe even the A7 like 3 or whatever it might be. I was like, oh, these are pretty noisy. Now, of course, you can click denoise in Lightroom and it's not really a problem. And let's be honest, when you're viewing a picture from a long distance away, or if it goes to print, it doesn't really matter too much. But I did notice, I'm like, careful. Make sure it's ample light. Don't push this thing up north of 6400 too much, because I feel like it does start to get noisy, maybe faster than what I expected. Like shooting with Nikon, I had the D780 or I had a Z6. I felt like those did a really good job with some of the higher ISO stuff. But long story short, I'm still working with the Sonys. In fact, I bought into the ZV-1 Mark II, at least for now, to kind of make it like a small option. It's super uninspiring to shoot as a camera, but great as like a video camera like this. I use it for webcam for work. And then I'm shooting some senior photos for my daughter. It's supposed to be at the end of the month. And I got to imagine like this will do a great job. I just got to figure out how to get the colors out of it that I want and make good images. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. That was my experience over the 4th of July week, hanging with my family, had an amazing time, and using this camera to document. I often longed for something else in my hands, but it did a good job. The question is now, do I buy the third camera and make it the passion camera? Remember, going back to even 2-3 months ago, I had said my new approach was buy the do-it-all super awesome camera, this one, buy the pocket vlogger, go with me anywhere camera, maybe it's this one. And the third camera to buy is that passion camera, which could be anything, but it's the camera I want to pick up all the time. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think. Do I make sense on this, or am I absolutely off my rocker? It's okay. You can tell me either way down below. I appreciate it. Just don't be super. I get people in these comment sections. They're just like total douchebags. Don't be a douchebag. Let's not do that. All right. See you guys.